Hey guys, welcome to the Eklavya's podcast. I'm with a very, very special guest today, Venkatesh Jois. When was the last time you were called Venkatesh?
Frequently actually. No one really calls me Venkatesha, but Venky, Venkatesh, on the basketball court, just V. Like people simplify it, but yeah. No, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so for people who are tuning in, Venky, we're going to call you Venky because even I have an extremely long name which I shortened to Gopal,
Okay.
right? So you're Venky to me. So Venky is a pro basketball player who has played in over a dozen countries.
Yeah.
Over a dozen countries.
Mhm.
Right? Very interesting legacy lineage family. He's come all the way from Australia to Bangalore. I thought he was coming to attend a relative's wedding, but turns out it was your own Indian wedding. So,
Absolutely.
congrats on your wedding, bro.
Thank you. Sir. I appreciate that. No, it was so good. It was a shortened version, which is 3 days here. but no, to get that much family time in, it's been a while since we've had the whole crew all in one place, especially as you get older. It's harder to get everyone, especially with kids and things. But yeah, no, I had a blast, and it's just great to be back. And now being able to explore like the basketball scene with, you direct me in some places, it's really, really special.
We'll come to the basketball bit. I'm just curious now on the whole Indian wedding scenario. So,
Yes.
so you are in Bangalore,
Mhm.
right? So I assume you have roots in Bangalore. Your family's from Bangalore. Can you take us through that whole?
Yeah, so my dad, first almost 25 years, grew up in Bangalore.
Where in Bangalore? Do you know the exact neighborhood?
Biru maybe?
Where? Sorry?
Biru? I don't know.
That does not sound like a legit place.
Yeah, well, no, because it's a small village in
Oh, it's a village. So not from Bangalore.
Well, yeah, I mean, back in the day.
Okay.
But I mean, same area, right? So I mean, if I get that wrong, sorry, Dad. But yeah, he first 25 years here, and then met my mum, in Australia, and I think we've been back, only a few times since then. But as soon as everyone got to adults, it's been so hard to get back, especially get the whole family back. So yeah, Dad's roots are here, but half of my family is here because all of my Indian fam are still in Bangalore.
Okay.
Which is a lot of family.
Right. So your dad, he was here for 25 years in India. Then I guess he moved to Australia to study or to just start working.
Yeah. So it was study initially, and then his visa ran out in Australia, so they both actually had to go to Canada, and that's where all the 3 girls were born. So I got 3 little sisters. Yeah. And then they managed to be able to move back to Oz when he got his working visa, and then that's when I was born. And first 18 years was in Australia. Then that's when basically everything started for me. It's 4 years in the US for college, pro ever since, all throughout Europe, Asia, America. Obviously, a little time here in New Zealand. So Australia, New Zealand. So yeah.
Wow, crazy. So you've been like pretty much all over, right?
Yeah. All over, seen the probably the highest of highs and some of the lowest of lows in basketball. As far as what you get off the court, so you can get treated exceptionally well or exceptionally poorly. But honestly, as far as perspective goes, even the worst cases that I've had have been there's been positives that come out of it just based off you learn to either appreciate what you have or. And other things, it's obviously you see strengths of other countries and you see what you like and what you don't like for real, because, if you just stay in India, if you just stay in Australia, you don't actually get to see the world and what you would actually like, so you only know one thing.
Okay. No, so I want to get into this a bit later, but since you spoke about it, so how many countries have you played pro basketball in? If you can just list it out.
So my first year out of college, I played in Estonia.
Okay.
Then I went to Croatia the next year. Halfway through, I got bought out to a team in Japan. And then the following year after Japan, I went to Germany. Came back and played in Australia for a second, and then New Zealand for a little bit. Then went back to the US, played in the G League in Memphis. After Memphis, we went to actually COVID hit, and that's when kind of everything stopped. The whole basketball world stopped for a little while. But coming out of that, went to Serbia. From Serbia, and that's the first contract that my wife came with me. Then to Slovenia, then to the Philippines, then to China. Yeah, so we've gone through all the fingers so far. Right.
Yeah.
China and then back to the Philippines. So I suppose just under the dozen. I lied to you. I apologize.
Okay. No, because your Instagram bio, and guys, check out his page on Instagram. Very, very interesting globetrotting sort of page. You have all these flags. So that's what I wanted to just discuss this with you. So, and again, but how did you get into basketball? Is it just something that growing up in Australia is just a sport that because Australia like a cricket country like India, right? Like what were the sports that you were playing growing up? How did basketball
So I think my story is unusual in the fact that like basketball really wasn't on my radar as far as like a profession or a career. And I kind of like fell into it because I always had an extreme like passion for the game. Love basketball. So even to this day, it's just like so ingrained as far as like I always want to play. I always want to improve. And that's just something hardwired in me. But, the way that I grew up, it's like very like academics first.
That's from your dad's side.
Right.
Your Indian dad's side.
And so we went to, a school literally for academics. It's funny because we had, my high school was a school called Box Hill High School.
In Melbourne.
In Melbourne, right? So this is back in Australia. And so just across the street, there was Box Hill Senior Secondary College, which is a sports school. So if you want to play basketball, you go there because they'll train you every day. You'll have the facilities. It's almost like an academy. And I didn't go there. I went to the academic school. And so when I was actually approached, so I started to have some success in, state teams and I think one of the nationals. I was like MVP of the tournament. And then all of a sudden we had, like US colleges that were interested in bringing me to America. And all I heard was, in their pitch was like, tuition was $50,000 and we'll give you all this for free. Like you, and I was like, free education? Okay, sign me up. But it wasn't until I think my junior year, after some success in college, that agents start to talk to you and they start to say, hey, look, after college, we think we can get you this job. We think we can get you playing here. We see this for you for your career. And then, it was only then that, basketball was on my radar as a profession, as an actual career, and doors that it's opened up has been life-changing.
Okay, but your parents, were they into sports actively or?
Yes, Australia have a huge, sporting community, and obviously cricket being one of them. But almost every sport under the sun, Australians love, and it's one cool thing about the school system in Oz is they kind of force you to play everything. So kids usually find their niche or what they like or what they don't like, and then you pursue that outside of school in clubs.
Okay.
So it's very unlike the US. The US would be, if you want to play basketball for that term or for that, semester, you're playing basketball. You can play a maximum at my school. If you wanted to play basketball, 3 days. That's as much as you can play basketball. You get a day off school to play in district. If you win that as your team, you'll get a day off maybe a week later to play in zone. If you win that, maybe you could play for the state championship a couple of weeks later, and then that's it. And then it'll be a different sport. It will be badminton, or it will be, cricket, or it will be football, So it's really, they do a good job at mixing it up, and in your own time you pursue, I guess your interests.
Okay, and were you a good student? Because obviously you said you went to an academic school, so you enjoyed studying.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was a good student. It was definitely a source of pride, was just making sure that I always beat all my friends. And that was, especially because like we have, again, it's similar to India where it's like standardized exams, where you get ranked in Australia, your percentile of how well you did across the country. And that kind of gives you your scholarship opportunities to, can you become a doctor, straight away? Can you, physio, or is it a lawyer, an engineer? that's how they decide it. And so I actually already knew I was going to college, but still, even though I knew my future was, secure in America, I still made sure I beat all my friends. There was no way they were going to beat me. So I still studied.
Okay, no, the reason why again I asked this is because in India there's this very famous badminton coach, Pulela Gopichand. He sort of trained a lot of these Olympic medalists. He said something a few weeks back which made headlines. He was recommending Indian kids, that unless you come from a rich family, or unless your family has a sort of a business that they run, like a family business, just don't even think about sports as a career, right? Because, and especially in the sense that, or at least don't neglect your studies, that you need to have a plan B. And this sort of goes against the grain also of people. There's theory, right? It would be all into something, because sports is so fickle. It's there for 10, 15 years. So if you're not all into sport, you have to give it that, go for it types, because then when you run out of time. So what is your take about this whole balancing sports, academics, having a plan B?
I think it'll change, honestly, in like that kind of view in India, because my eyes kind of got opened to, and I'm sure anyone who plays sport starts to realize that even your intangibles for any job, right? How you grow as a person when playing sports is you learn you have to be successful when it comes to communication, accountability, being able to work in a team. A lot of the time it brings you out of your shell, and actually even talking to really high level, like CEOs and business guys who their field is not basketball, any sort of, what you would think is like skill transfer. They're like, no, the first people that we would hire is athletes, because we know that, those kind of things that you can't teach from a book, you get taught through sports. So I think even if you are someone who wants to do, purely academics, that 100% you want to become an engineer. That's just your life dream. That's what you want to do. I still think sports as a, whether you want to say it's on the side or, just basically a pursuit, an interest, is worthwhile even for that. So, I think, to answer your question, sports complements non-sports, career. And obviously for me, I was one of the, lucky ones where, sports has offered me, basketball has offered me, everything, all the doors that have opened for me, playing in different countries, getting to experience different cultures and lifestyles, and earn money doing things that I love. Meeting my wife, I never would have met some of my best friends and people who I consider family without basketball, and without I guess that introducing me to the whole world.
Okay, but so at what point? Obviously, you were doing well, right? Right from your school, your college started getting attention from scouts, and you were always, I guess, the best player on your school team, or one of the better players. Is that true?
So actually, when it comes to basketball, it's pretty late bloomer. So there were plenty of guys who were, I suppose, like scouted to be better than me, especially at a junior level. Like I never made an Australian national team. I never made, like even state teams, and even amongst my club, like a lot of the time, like I would be in a third team or a second team or something like that, where it was just, because in Australia there's a lot of politics involved.
You can't speak to Indian guys about politics. But okay, continue.
Right. So there's a lot of politics involved, and I think that we actually thought about this, of guys in my state team who still play basketball, right? Who all picked either above me and I didn't make it, or that I played with. No one else. We don't have a single basketball player who were playing for Australia that are still playing today in my age group.
I have a theory about this, which is that it's always good to feel like you have not got what you deserve.
Yeah.
Because that makes you stick with the game longer. You
Chip
agree
on
with
the
that?
shoulder?
Yeah, chip on the shoulder.
I think that it can be a great source of motivation because I think everyone responds differently to different stimulus. So like some guys really want that coach to be on them the entire time. You gotta go. Some people like it to be like, oh, I'll tell you you're not good enough. Okay, I'll prove you wrong. I'm gonna be. Some people are they respond to positive feedback where it's like, you can do this, have that confidence. Everyone's different, but I suppose it is definitely about finding, what you respond to. Because I can guarantee you, I know you say that a lot of those people who were told they couldn't could. There's going to be a lot of people who could, got told they couldn't, and then just stopped. You know what I mean?
That's so sad.
So there's those success stories that could have been that would have been squashed by people saying, no, you're not good enough, or you can't do it, and they would have listened. But maybe if they were told, no, give it a go. No, you can do this. Trust me, just give it your all, or give it, whatever you have, and then see what happens. What's the worst that could happen from trying? Maybe those people would have been playing for the Indian national team,
Crazy. Okay, so this is interesting because you were a late bloomer, like you said. Because all of us, right, at some point, it's the game that chooses you. When you're experimenting, trying out different hobbies, careers, options.
Sure. Yeah.
At some point, it just clicks. You realize that this is a love affair that I have, despite my trying out all these. So when did you know? When did you realize that? Because all these other teammates of yours were playing for the Australia U16, U18, right? But when did you know that, hey, this is something I see myself doing and doing well, or relatively better than the others for a long time?
I think for me, I had some really good mentors when I was younger that instilled in me this, I suppose, like drive or hustle or grit, whatever you want to call it, as far as like how competitive that I am.
Yeah.
And that kind of extends and bleeds into everything that I do, as far as like if it's a card game, if it's a board game, so whatever, like I'm ruthless. I'm trying to win. So I think that is innate. But like you said, like, what I suppose drew me and made me stick with basketball was I think it's just such a beautiful game. Like it's just everything from the teamwork that you have to have, the skill development and that pursuit to become the best that you can be. Like there's so many things in basketball that you can improve and can always improve. So even when you look at a guy like LeBron, who's had, decades in the game where he's been the best player in the world, still every single summer is excited to go back into the lab and develop something new. Like that pursuit is really, really cool, because there's no point, in my career that there's ever been, I can just relax. I don't have to do anything, because you can always get better. So I think that's something also that's a draw, is like, if you are competitive, if you do want to win, there's always something to do and you enjoy doing it. Like that's the good love affair. That's what you want.
Yeah. So this you had right from the beginning. Like basketball, you always sense this lifelong learning and curiosity right from the first time you stepped onto the court, or is that something?
A lot of sports, whether it was like soccer or table tennis or something. No, I loved it all. I genuinely loved the competition, and
But you chose basketball at some point, right?
Yeah.
So I'm asking about that moment.
I suppose, yeah, I did have to choose, because you can't do everything, especially like pursue it trying to be elite at something. So maybe when I was, I'd say I gave up other sports at a club level around under 14. So when I was 13 years old, I decided, okay, no more netball, no more footy, no more cricket, no more, let's just focus on, at least outside of school, that thing. And I still played all sports all throughout high school. So I was running track. I was also, in every single team, playing other sports. But yeah, outside of school, it would have just been basketball at 15 or so. 13 or so.
Okay, and you played in the G League,
Right.
which is just there, right? Like you're knocking like one door away.
Right.
Can you tell us about your whole G League experience? How did that work out for you? How were you scouted, and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, it's the G League is a different beast in the sense that a lot of those guys, myself included, can be earning far more elsewhere.
G League is 40,000, right? It used to be.
They changed it a little bit more now, but it's still like that's minimum wage almost.
Median, whatever.
Yeah, but I mean it's a short season, so you do actually get paid. It's a fine amount. I think it's like 7,000 per month or something like that. It's really not that bad. But you can get paid significantly more playing in other leagues across the world. But like you said, the dream's always there. So it's like you're running the same systems. You're still working out with like NBA guys and NBA facilities, and it was really, really cool to be, especially because Memphis, like we were number one in the league for quite a while, and we get treated. We play in the same, train in the same arena as the NBA guys. So it's very, very cool to be a part of that system, because I know there are other G League teams that you're playing. The Miami affiliate is in North Dakota or something like that. Like it's insane. So and it has very little to do with each other. But we were very, very involved, and I found the G League to be a little less pure in basketball, just because there's a lot of guys who just want to succeed individually, but the talents all around you is pretty special. So as a competitor, always fun to go up against every night. Different guys who are either two-way players in an NBA team, or maybe they're we had 6 NBA guys in our team that either came from the Grizzlies just to play a few games, or it's like two-way guys that are going up and down. So we had amazing talent. I played with Josh Jackson, I think he was lottery pick, and a lot of guys there who were like elite, exceptional players. So always fun to be around those guys.
So was it when you compare with your own game? Obviously, at every level you were able to dominate, right? From Australia coming up. So was the G League something in terms of competition? Did you do you feel you could have given it more, or what is? I mean, do you see yourself going back? What?
Yeah. So with the G, I got fairly unlucky in the fact that I started training with them. All of a sudden, they started to see that I could really, really play. And I was in the starting 5, and all the players were kind of like, we want to play with Venky, because again, for all those intangibles like that Australians a lot of the time have, like how physical you are, and how hard you try, and rebound, screens, all those little things that people don't like to do, we just do, right? It's built like you just do it, right? But I broke my arm second game. Oh, so I had probably like 4 minutes on the floor, and then got a couple of blocks, few rebounds, went to go lay the ball up one time, got undercut, and then fell on my arm, and then that was basically my most of the season was injured. I came back, had like maybe a few double-doubles, and started to work my way back into the rotation, back getting match fit, and then COVID hit. So but it was good, because I still had like a few games where I felt that I'm here and I can do this, and had some success. So yeah, it was a good experience to be around, like that cusp. But at the end of the day, it's hard to turn down other countries and other contracts where it's like financially just makes a lot more sense. Even culture wise, like it's some guys don't like it, some guys do, but playing in different countries and the different treatment and culture that you get is special too, I think.
Okay, because I mean the question that all of us have, right, always, is when is India going to have our Linsanity moment, right? And we've had so many Indian origin guys, not so many, we've had a handful of Indian origin guys who have Simbular actually, I think,
Yeah,
actually played.
with Sack.
Yeah, so Sim actually played. Then you had Satnam Singh, the only Indian national to get drafted, and then he was just in the Dallas G League affiliate.
Right, yeah.
So what's your take on this, and also the fact of do you think, because even Jeremy Lin, he was an American or is an American citizen, right, who was embraced in Taiwan,
Right.
where he's from. Do you think that matters? Like, do we need an Indian national guy who has grown up in the Indian context to make it big or play in the NBA, or do you think any brown baller can be an ambassador for the sport?
Yeah, I definitely think so, because a lot of the when you can see the same body type and the same I suppose, like, if there's an Indian kid who looks up to me and is like, yeah, I can grow into the same general, like that's possible, right? It's not possible for them to just grow up like LeBron. Like it's not in the realm of possibility. So I do think when it comes to ambassadors, people do like to be represented in their genetics, right? And Jeremy Lin's got Taiwanese genetics, like I've got Indian genetics, so it's possible, and then actually you end up seeing his game is very different to, like Kyrie Irving's game or Kemba Walker's, or just people, like who aren't, of Asian descent. My game's very different from, it's quite unique, and you can see how to succeed actually with what you have genetically, because, it's not everyone's going to be able to jump out the gym.
Do you feel I'm curious, right? Because for me, I am from Tamil Nadu. I'm Tamilian, but I was born in Gujarat, in Western India. Then I moved to Karnataka and I did my college in Rajasthan. I worked in Delhi. So I've always felt like I'm not from one place. Is that something that you grapple with in terms of identity? Or are you like, I'm Australian with just a weird name?
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's a question that I think maybe almost all athletes have to face, is that especially when you retire, because a lot of the time you just like, oh yeah, Venky, he's a basketball player, right? Okay, what happens when I stop becoming a basketball player? Who am I? Like, what do people know me as, right? And like you're saying with your identity, like, what do you feel like you are? Like, for me, like, obviously, half my family's from Oz, half my family's from India, so I can say that I grew up in Australia, so I'm Australian. I can say that I'm half Indian too. I can say I'm half Australian. Like, I can say that that's me, but I don't like to just define myself as one thing, or say that you're from one place, or that you are this. Everyone's unique. Everyone's their own individual. So for me, I love India. I love Australia. It's important to me to have like roots in both cultures and countries. But where am I from? I don't know. I'm Venky.
You're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay.
No, that's amazing. That's a great way to look at it, because that way everywhere is home.
Right. And in a sense, like, I'll tell you, my experience, first few experiences going to different countries, because it is difficult. Like, it's not all roses and sunshine. Like, it is tough. Like, when I first moved to the US for college, there was around, especially around Christmas time that first year, I was so sad. I walked out of one practice one time, and I was just cried. I was just sad, missing home or whatever. And coaches were like, "What do we even do? Like, we can't yell at him. Like, he's just So what do you do? And for me, like obviously you get over that, and I developed my American family with guys that I have lifelong bonds with, and slowly that became a second home. And that was, a second home for 4 years. And I was very attached to America as well. But then my first, year, then I have to go to, Estonia. And then all of a sudden, okay, I'm not in either home, Australia or America. So you develop your family. And then eventually it got to this point where, it doesn't matter where I am located, because pieces of my heart will be in different continents. I can't be in Australia, America, India, and Europe at the same time. So no matter where I am, there's going to be, I guess, people that I love that let me see, just appreciate what you have. Where I am, who I'm with, that's amazing. Appreciate that, because you can't be everywhere. So I think that's the way that I look at, I guess, home away from home. Where is home? For me, like, it's more about the people and, just appreciate what you have.
Well, that's crazy, because I'm sure it's beyond the glamour, right? If you're a kid playing basketball, it sounds like a dream. You're traveling the world,
Right.
playing basketball professionally, earning money from it. But as an adult, when you look at it, you're constantly displacing yourself. It can take a toll on you,
Right.
on your personal life, on your family, on your friendships, right? So what's it like to be a journeyman athlete,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
What's and all, just everything.
The beautiful thing for, athletes is that when you get thrown into different countries, you're automatically thrown into a team of, like 15 people, all the same mission, all have to work really hard together and fight in the same battles. So you end up developing bonds pretty quick in that way. But you're right. Like you get, there's very little stability as far as like where you are. There's often anxiety, that's gone away for me. But, 5 years ago when my now wife, when we met, she went through that same process again, where it's like, tomorrow we could be in Italy. Like where are we going to play? Like, an agent will call like, hey, we've got a team in, Spain. We have a team in France. Like, is that something you're interested in that we can make work? And then she's looking up everything about those countries, and, it's that anxiety. But then neither of those teams work out. And like, so that kind of like, not even knowing where you're going is definitely, I don't think, easy for everyone. Over time, it gets really easy, and it's honestly just like exciting. But I've had, my contract in Germany was literally, I was at the table with my family, get a call from my agent that just says like, this is the money, this is the situation, this is the team and what we want to get out of it. Do you want to do it? I said, yeah, it sounds great. And then he's like, okay, they want you on a plane within 24 hours.
It's always...
And then that's how quick it was. So I think in India, it's a little bit more difficult because you actually have to get like visas sorted a little bit earlier. So I've talked to a couple of Indian athletes who, one girl, she played Div 1 and, has come back to India, is actually working at the ASB Academy. And she was saying like she has to try and get signed by June because, she needs 2 months or 3 months for a visa to work before, contracts start, and usually around late August.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's but yeah, anyway, to answer your question, that instability with where you're going to be, the people that you're going to know, because you might get lucky, you might meet amazing people that will be lifelong friends, and I would be very, very sad if I never got the opportunity to meet some of the people I now call, brothers or sisters. If I never got that opportunity, it'd be so sad if I just stayed in Australia. But some contracts I've had have been not so good people. There's been corruption. There's been some, shady stuff that go on outside of basketball, where sometimes you can even be scared. Like, sometimes you might not get paid on time. Sometimes you might not get paid at all.
Yeah, because there's no way for you to enforce it, right? In some other alien country, I mean, how do you even...
So FIBA's always on your side, but that takes a long time. And then sometimes there's nothing stopping. When I played in, of all countries, it was actually New Zealand, where you would think it would be more safe. But one team owed me money. They just weren't paying. So
drop their name now on the podcast.
Well, they don't exist anymore. But that's the thing. They just decided. Okay, we owe all these guys a lot of money. We're bankrupt. See you later. And then you can't get money because they don't exist. So that was and another time, we were in Serbia and weren't getting paid, so we ended up just leaving. So that also is a level of unpredictability and uncertainty when it comes to certain contracts. So you really have to find the right agent that won't just ship you to random crazy places that you're going to have a poor experience or maybe not get paid, or it's really, really important that you kind of vet who is helping you with your career, because it does take a team, and it has to take a team that's all on your side, because otherwise there's plenty of agents that are just happy, hey, I'll send you to, Kosovo and I'll collect a check. What happens to you? If you succeed, great for me, because I'll get more money for the next contract. But if you don't, see ya. It's hard to sort through, especially earlier in your career when people are telling you whatever they want to tell you. It's hard to navigate that space. So I've got a good feel for it now. I work with people that I like. I work with, basically just, if you're a good person, that's who I want on my team, people I trust. So I've had, plenty of experiences where, teams or, people surrounding, like agents and stuff like that, where it's like, I don't know if I trust you, or I don't know if I even like you. So I don't want to, you to keep setting me up and sending me to these crazy places. Like, yeah, it's happened.
Is that something I know I'm not even hinting about retirement, but I'm just saying, is that something you think about? Like, once you're done playing, do you see yourself as perhaps being in a position where you can assimilate your expenses, your experiences, and then probably be an agent or a manager yourself? Is that something you thought about?
Yeah. So I don't think I would never want to be an agent. I'd be very happy to connect people and teams, but I don't, I wouldn't try to expect a commission or anything like that. Some of my best friends are actually in the agency game, so they can take care of all that kind of stuff. But certainly still be involved in the space, because, we were talking earlier about, mentors and how, like the people growing up, like my role models being involved in basketball as coaches, or maybe it's agents, maybe it's, just like people surrounding the team, like that helped shape me positively into who I am. So I just want to be that for other people, because I see how positive basketball can impact people's lives. So, it's more than just a game. So if I can give back, I want to stay in that space to some capacity.
Okay. So now coming to some more actionable points, because there are obviously a bunch of Indian kids, hopefully, who are tuning into this podcast, who may be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And they are not Venky Jois in the sense that they're not 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". Again, coming to that, I got a very interesting text. I asked him, dude, Venky, what's your height? Because you're trying to set up the podcast, in terms of how to frame the shot. And he sent me a very interesting text where I think where you said your height varies depending on the league in which you're playing. So can you just take us through what is it? Your 6'8" in shoes? Is that?
Yeah. So it's funny. I can't give away any real numbers in case I get in trouble in certain leagues. So I'll just say for player X, okay?
Good player X. That's
might be me, might not be. Okay. So for player X or for player Y, like if you play in some countries, they might be like flat feet on the ground, no shoes. What's your height? Because we're just interested in what's the truth. Okay. You might get a number. If you go to the US, they really love to inflate the numbers. They want you to.
That's why Kevin Durant do what, 7? No, he's trying to reduce his height to 6'9".
So he's a special case. But there's plenty of 7-footers that are not 7 foot. There's plenty of guards who you're not even 6 foot. Don't lie to me. But they inflate it. So, you know, it was very, very funny. I was on I think got sent like a scouting report or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but there was a scouting profile of me at 6'10". Like, I'm not 6'10". I've never told anyone I'm 6'10". Why are they putting me like this? But you know, I've been 6'10", 6'8", I've been 6'9", I've been 6'7", I've been 6'6". And in the Philippines, I was recently 6'4.95".
That's specific. I hope they got that right if they're saying 6'4". After all that.
Very, very specific. But also it just so happened that one of the conferences is also like a height limit on it. So I got under the height limit. But you know, it's really, really interesting because, you know, in the Philippines, like for, you know, another player, you know, they want you to, when you go for testing, make sure that you've done heavy squats, so your spine's a little compressed. You know, do like, you know, don't drink as much water. So you know, like it's literally, you feel like it's the UFC or something.
Yeah, this is combat sports level stuff.
Where you're literally trying to shrink, because sometimes the difference can be an inch of whether you can play in a conference and have, you know, a full season where, you know,
but they have such specific height requirements in some of these leagues.
Yeah. So in the Philippines, it'll be 3 months for a 6'6" and under conference, 3 months for a 6'9" and under conference, and another 3 months for just like an all Filipino conference. But some leagues, I think Korea, I might be getting this wrong, but you can have one import under 6'6" and one import under 6'9" on the team. Other leagues, you know, they just I think they vary it because they want the locals to you know, also have shine and a chance. And, you know, it's interesting. Everywhere in the world's different.
Yeah, I think that requires a separate podcast itself, just to understand every country and what it takes to play there. So yeah, but coming back to my question, if there are kids in India who are and you've seen, and you've checked out a few academies in Bangalore.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lakshya Academy and Akanksha Singh Academy. You talk about that, your experience. You have a sense now of the talent among Indian kids and how it compares with Australia. But I'm saying if there's a kid, and the average height I think in India for men is, I believe it was 5'7" to 5'9" for men, right? So say for example, a kid in India who's 5'11", 6 feet tall,
Right.
who's not whatever 6'4", 9'5" to 6'10", right?
Yeah.
How does that, and you've seen other players with you in all these leagues. There are
Sure.
many guards, right? But
Yeah,
how does an Indian guard or a shorter player from India or South Asia, what are their chances, honestly, in terms of playing abroad, keeping it completely real, right? Because we don't want to give false hope. At the same time, we don't want to dissuade someone who
Of course.
may have a shot. So how does a kid like that navigate this?
Yeah, and it's something that you know, when I went to the academies, I did like training sessions as well, train some of the kids, and it's some of the stuff that we worked on. And, you know, I tried to impart to them is you have to, in basketball, there's always going to be someone, even if you're uber athletic, even if you're super tall, even if you're an unbelievable, you know, like just you can one dribble, pull up, shoot, or like, you know, as far as like just, I guess on a piece of paper, this guy is this, like your biometrics, right? It's always going to be someone more athletic, taller, stronger, faster, whatever it is. You have to have something in your game that makes you unique or makes you desirable to teams. So, you know, I told, you know, basically them, to me, I have, you know, basketball actually becomes elegant in its simplicity and, you know, effective by being simple. It's not having to do, you know, really over the top special things a lot of the time. And for me, you know, I have probably like 3 moves that I can go to pretty much all the time. And it's like just where I would score 80% of my buckets is through really simple stuff, right? But it's what works for me. And those 3 moves might not work for, you know, another player, but they might have 3 moves that wouldn't work for me either. You know, I wouldn't be able to do and have the same effectiveness. So it's about finding how to be successful. And I told them is, a guy who they could, kind of identify themselves in when amongst his peers is like a guy like Luka Doncic who like looks, 6'6", looks, almost like overweight, slow, not as athletic, and
But that's why Dallas moved him apparently.
yeah,
It's not open.
but so he, the way that he makes some of these guys who are way more athletic, probably pushing plates way stronger than him, like his game and how he succeeds, he makes it look like he's walking in slow motion and he still succeeds. And so we would work on things. We worked on some stuff that I know beats more athletic players, taller players, because you'll always have something, and it's about finding your game because it is individual. So, to those kids who are developing, I would say, obviously, every part of the game is important. It's always important to be able to ball handle, shoot. It's important to have like fundamentals of like footwork and everything, but you should also try and identify something in your game that's different. Are you incredible at shooting floaters, better than everyone else? Are you, really, really good with like your step backs or your spin moves, or like, I had one guy in college who's very, very funny. So like, and I have it to a degree too, where it's like this guy, all he would do was spin. I kid you not. Every single move, he drives left or he drives lights, he spins back and he scores, and everyone knows it, but no one can stop it.
Yeah,
and it made no sense. But he was scoring 20 points per game his senior year in a Div 1 college with the same like move, but he just perfected that, and he was 6'4", 5" Ukrainian kid who doesn't fit the quota of like that's a basketball player. You see him, you don't think he's a basketball player. But I suppose what I'm trying to get at is basically just like find a way that succeeds for you that would make you different from everybody else.
That's very, I think, sensible advice, and it's also quantifiable, because I think all kids, they know what they are good at, right? Which is that maybe they may not think that what I'm good at is important enough, but I think you can make it, right? Like, and then the league sort of, or the game adjusts around that, so like, for example, I was, as you can see, I was very lazy. I didn't want to get banged up, so I just used to shoot. Then the defense sort of, then you have to, that's when you get your counter move, right? So I think that's what even you're saying, right? You move, counter move, and counter move, and then just permutations around it.
Yeah, but then that's where it becomes a beautiful game. I mean, my I can play very athletic, but I can also play like an old man, and my game, there's a lot of footwork, there's a lot of using your body and up fakes and all that kind of stuff, which I could do if I was 60 years old, right? It doesn't matter about my athleticism. It's more about like, because there is that like tricky part of like basketball where you can like fake people out and things. So a good example for Indian kids, there's plenty of Filipino kids, even shorter than Indians, that are succeeding on the world stage because they're doing the right things. And again, body type, athleticism is probably quite similar, but they have this thing called like the Pinoy step. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's things like they find a way where this move develops where, they would take one step, fake like they're shooting the ball, come back down, take another step, and then be able to finish. And it's something that, shorter, more unathletic guards developed that became so popular because it's so effective.
I find that to be very unfair, like the shorter guards, they develop all these skills, and anyway the athletic guys incorporate that, and then again they lose that advantage, because anyway the athletic guys are going to work on their skills. And
so I think it's one of the again, like, you just, for me, obviously, like a guy like Wemby, for instance, is unbelievable in the fact that he can do guard, has guard skills as a superhuman height and wingspan and everything like that, right? But to be honest, like at least for me, like individually, like, you don't need to be a guard. Like you can do things that be super, super effective without having to make the game, like something that it doesn't need to be. So I think there's, again, like I said, effectiveness in simplicity. And, if you have to do something, it doesn't even matter. Even if Wemby shoots 45% from the field, right? But I shoot 65% from the field. Who do you really want taking the shot? You know what I mean? And obviously Wemby's far better than me. Incredible prospect. But I'm just saying, as far as, how you structure your game, it doesn't have to be, with all the bells and whistles. True. It just has to be effective.
True. Okay. So I don't know if you have noticed my t-shirt. Can you read what it says?
Brown men can jump. I love it.
So is that something you've sort of faced? Is that true? Well, I'll give you context to this. So about 8 years ago, so now Eklavya does a lot of just the media side things. But about 8 years back, we were also actually actively trying to place Indian athletes abroad. And this is sort of soft sense we got that, oh, you know what, we have 4 foreign quota players. Indian guy, I can just get a black guy.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that is the sense we got, that there's still a stereotype, especially even for you with your name. You could be a tech guy in Bangalore and right? Venkatesha Jois.
Yeah.
So does that still hold true, that the stereotype around brown athletes, or that you can't be brown and an athlete at the same time?
Honestly, it's true, and it is a deterrent to even me today. Actually, I do have more of a reputation now, so that's nice. But for one of my teammates at Brown Ballers, like, he is really, really talented. He can shoot the ball, he can score the ball, he can pass the ball, he can kind of do everything, Swiss Army knife. But he because his name is Gokul and he looks Indian with a small frame.
Gokul Natison.
Yeah. So like it's harder for him to get contracts because of the way that he looks, which is such a shame, because even for me, like if and this is not to say like, oh, woe is me, like if only I had this. I'm just saying the truth. The nature of the beast is that if I looked more the part, more doors would open. That's just truth. But like you said, when the chip on the shoulder, like at the end of the day, maybe all the doors weren't open for me from the start. But once you put your foot in, and then all of a sudden, like, people see that you can play, then it starts to not matter, because it's funny that especially with the brown men can jump. I always get, whenever I play on a new team, like, whoa, we didn't know you could do that. No one I think looks at me and thinks that I can tomahawk dunk and do a 360 or whatever, but then I do it and they're like, okay, wow, we didn't realize. It's always a surprise. But honestly, sometimes it works better. So,
you can use it as a decoy, as a surprise.
Exactly. Guys look at me and they don't realize what I can do, and then you on the court, so to speak, punch them in the mouth and have that advantage. So to me, even if, and one of my coaches had a good quote about this. It's like, he doesn't care even if you're a center and you're, 6'5" and don't look the part, because this is very high level in Europe. Doesn't care, like, if you're however short, if you don't look the part, if you play like you're 6'10", that's what he wants. But if you're 6'10" and you play like you're 5'2", he doesn't care. Like there's no
punch above your weight, pound for pound.
Exactly. Like, and it's so true. I know so many big guys who actually look the part and get open those doors. They're terrible. They really are just like, they can't get rebounds, they can't score, they can't do the things that they need to be able to do to be successful. But they had those doors open for them. and it ended up either not working out, retire, or maybe they still get contracts but at lower leagues. So at the end of the day, if you stick with it, I think it'll even out.
Okay. I also think there's also a reverse stereotype, no? Like, this is true in India for sure, that if there are tall kids, they generally say, hey, volleyball, basketball, or be a fast bowler in cricket.
Right.
That is also, I mean, at a smaller level, that is also a problem, right? Because just because you're tall, maybe you want to be a musician.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's not my fault that I'm 6'10", but I hate sports, right? Is that, you think that's something we don't talk about enough, the reverse discrimination that just because you're tall, you have to play sport?
It's definitely true. Definitely true. It's funny that, I don't mind if people want to have, the same silly conversation, the same jokes about how's the air up there and you must play basketball and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm fine entertaining the conversations because at the end of the day, like, if it's very little effort to make people happy or comfortable, like, I'll do it. But it can, especially for some people, get very exhausting. Like, again, you talked about, like, what's your identity? Just because, like, tall basketball player, like, no, that's not me. Like, so yeah, some guys definitely, it does bother them. And like you said, drawing into like career paths, we were actually talking about this off camera. Just because you're tall doesn't mean you have to play like you're tall. So even in basketball, just because you're, 6'10", if you never develop the skills that you needed to succeed in the pro level because they never let you handle the ball, they never let you shoot, that's also counteractive. So your benefit of being tall, even in basketball, worked against you. And another guy, you always hear this, Anthony Davis, Kelly Olynyk, other 7-footers who grew up as a point guard, learning the skills, and then they have the growth development. Then those are the guys who are superstars. But why not just when you're tall, still develop that and just be a superstar without having to get lucky that you had the late growth spurt, So yeah, it definitely, even whilst being blessed with, tall genes, sometimes that can work against you for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we're nearing the end of the podcast. So yeah, you've come to Bangalore, you come to India after how long?
Yeah, so we had been visiting every 5 years, but with COVID, our last trip got cut. So it's been well over a decade. It's been about 14 years.
14 years, right? So, and obviously you came because, I mean, you were getting married, like the Indian style wedding, but you've had a chance to go to Lakshan, you had a chance to go to Akanksha Singh Basketball Academy. Were you pleasantly surprised in terms of the basketball scene and culture and the little bit that you've seen in Bangalore? Is like for an Australian guy coming in to India, like what was your reaction, your thoughts about the Indian basketball scene?
I didn't think it was here yet. I thought it was going to be a longer term like project, one that I was very happy to like try and guide and impact positively any way that I could. But facilities, unbelievable. If you are an athlete and you want genuinely, like that's world-class facilities, because I've played everywhere. I know what even NBA facilities look like. High level D1 colleges look like. Actually the tools and the infrastructure for whoever is lucky enough to work there, it's already there. And then I think, with the right guidance of, like the proper coaches and trainers and things like that, India can be special really soon. I didn't think this existed. But yeah, I was blown away, honestly. So I got excited even for myself. Like if I come back to be able to, work out at ASB or Lakshan, wherever, like it's definitely has the tools.
Okay, so you see yourself coming back more frequently. You see, I always say that we need to build more bridges from India outwards, whether it's to the US, Europe, even Africa, for example, or Australia, Japan. So do you see yourself coming back more frequently to India and connecting with the Indian because that's how you had texted me in the first place. And shout out to Gotham for from Brown Ballers for introducing us. You had said, you want to understand.
Shout out Brown Ballers. Shout out G.
Baller. Yeah, so that you want to understand the Indian scene better. So I'm guessing that's. So how do you see yourself as a role? I mean, in terms of growing Indian basketball, do you see a role for yourself there? I mean, do you plan to come back to India more frequently now?
Yeah, I'm hoping we can make it, a yearly thing, because it's something that I'm just passionate about in general already. But one of the reasons why I got involved in Brown Ballers, which is like that non-profit organization to just try and make a culture shift in the Indian community, that we have role models for basketball, sports in general. There are greater things that can come from the pursuit of elite sports than about, because if you don't even know what the possibilities are, if you don't even know that it's possible in general, like, why would you pursue basketball? So yeah, joining that mission and that initiative has been like super rewarding for me, and this is the next step of something that's like even more grassroots, even more actually being physically present in India would be amazing for me to be able to share my knowledge base and kind of my talents back here would be a dream of mine. So yeah, I think I do have some expertise that when it comes to elite level basketball, that hopefully as much of positive impact I can on the Indian basketball scene. So whether that's coaching, whether that's training, whether that's advising, that's teaching the teachers, I'm definitely available and passionate. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, because I think we were talking about this earlier also. And I speak from, again, my experience over the last 10, 12 years, just constantly talking. I always believe in having conversations, because you never know what you will learn from what source. And I think what is very under-tapped is what India can learn from the Australian sports culture and the basketball culture. Because when basketball is still, the perception of basketball is still NBA.
Right.
There's so much, and you are an example of that, right? 11 countries. I mean, it's literally, there are more than 50, 60, 70 leagues probably. And then you have different divisions of each league.
Right.
So I think basketball is so much more than the NBA. It's so much more than USA or North America. Yeah. And especially India, because as you know, we're such a cricket obsessed country. I think Australia is a great example of a country, of probably the only cricket playing country which also is very, very good in basketball. And I think that correlation, that relatability that India has, that we are familiar with Australia.
Right.
I think that is something that definitely I think you guys can help us with. Right. So I think, and I thank you again for your interest.
Yeah.
I know you came to Bangalore for very, very personal reasons. So thank you for your time. And also, I know you like this concept, brown men can jump and brown ballers, but we have another gift for you, which I think suits you better, which suits your sort of vibe and personality. So I'm just going to give that to you.
All right. I'm excited.
So you're putting Desi ballers on the world map. You're the pros pro. You're playing in sort of 11 different countries, and you're putting Indian ballers on the map. So this is the Pro Touch 2.0. And I think I told you, right? This is an Indian company called Nivea in Jalandhar. This is not some paid promotion, by the way, right? So I'm just letting you know. So this is a company which is older than Nike and all of that. Not many people know. This is India's first FIBA certified level 1 basketball, which can be used in international competitions. So it's a company that's 90 years old. So since you are a pro, the Pro Touch for you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. There we go. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So I hope this can, accompany you, and you can take it with you and maybe get
some workouts, even some workouts here. Absolutely.
Right. So Venky, thanks for joining us on the podcast. Hope you had a good time. Any last words before we?
No, I think it was just a pleasure to be around you guys, and I've had a blast while I've been here, both just as obviously personal reasons, getting married, as a tourist, and as just getting to see my family again and work in the basketball scene. It's been awesome. So thank you guys. Yeah.
Awesome. So you're heading to the US after this?
Yes, so been doing some physical rehab on my Achilles, and now it's time to start getting back into the basketball side of things, with my body feeling, almost 100%. So we'll do a combination now of working not just in the gym, but also, with the Pro Touch 2.0.
Awesome. So thanks, and good luck, Venky.
Yeah, thank you. All
Yeah.
right.